Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. So today I'm going to talk about the Summit PVE mode that has been released with title update 11 in the Division 2. And I'm going to speak about it from my perspective. Basically, I've been playing this game for the past few weeks in a much different, environment. I've been streaming and talking with people in the community. So this is actually one step better than reading comments and trying to get a feel from how people see the game. And I'm not gonna lie, in doing these streams, I have found myself immersed in an echo chamber where almost everyone that has, been watching the streams, commenting, talking, or even joining groups with me and me joining groups with them and running missions and all, seem to either one, really like the game, and two, are kind of new to the game. So a lot of their perception of the game is in awe in many cases, or in some cases just an understanding that the Division 2 is not a perfect game, but they're still willing to play the game and engage in the game. So my approach and my entire analysis is most likely going to be based on that, but I will talk about the criticisms and the shortcomings that we've seen based on the Summit mode. So here's the Summit for you: the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good, it's a new PvE content mode. It's, in quotes, somewhat free for people who paid for the Warlords of New York DLC. So for those who paid that, $29.99 or however much you are paying right now, because it's actually on sale, interesting, you are now getting extra content on top of your money. So I guess your investment is now getting some kind of a return, even if it's 50 cents. Even if you say the Summit is worth 50 cents or 10 cents, it's still 10 cents on top of your $29 that you spent, and it's a few hours of gameplay. I think it's about 10 hours of gameplay depending on where you start from, depending on your skill level. So you do get to come into this place and grind. You get to grind different levels, and they even removed the requirement that you actually have to start from the base. You can go ahead and start from floor 51 and grind your way up top. So this was supposed to mitigate the amount of time that players will spend, the potential boredom that can actually come across, or you can come across if you're playing this game, or if you're playing this mode, sorry. And, it's something that I feel like that was quite controversial for some people. But in my opinion, I didn't care nonetheless, because you could still go back to the first floor and play if you wanted. So I didn't necessarily worry about it. In fact, we tried playing the first few floors, and then we kind of got antsy. And against the I would say wishes of my buddy, we moved to the 51st floor and played from there all the way up. It wasn't until after we discovered that you actually do have to play the first few floors to be able to get a potential key or part of the Ridgeway's pieces to get the final exotic quest when you finally get to 100 and beat the hunters. So I have reached 100 floor. I've played against the hunters, but I have not beaten them, but it would not have mattered anyway. So I'm kind of excited that we did not beat them. It was a tiring day, but I have to say that in that time that we were running through the Summit, I ran with a total of about maybe 5 people in different time periods. We were able to get very good gear playing the legendary aspects of the game, and two, the legendary aspect of the Summit mode is one of the best set of encounters that you're going to face in this game, because now you have much more close quarters combat and a little bit much more of the enemy NPCs acting somewhat different than they do. I mean, yes, it eventually got frustrating from floor 97 to 100, because now the enemy NPCs seem to have been a little buffed up with their health or maybe their healing, but everything that you played from 81 all the way through that 97 was just pure Division 2 legendary combat, testing your skills, your patience, testing your ability as a team to adapt and react, because these NPCs, they're the legendary AI, and they are one of the best AIs out there in the gaming industry when it comes to RPG games that we know. If you have any better enemy AI out there, please bring them, and we will match them with the Division 2's legendary White Tusk AI, and we will see your NPCs get floored. I mean, it's just a bragging right that we have anyways, but I may be wrong. But that was actually quite interesting. And, in getting the loot, that was also very good, because we went as a 4-man group at all the times I played through Legendary, and we were able to share gear, and I was able to come out with, a lot of items. I eventually deleted 100 items from my stash in order to put all these new max rolled items that I was able to pick up along the way. So that was a benefit. Even though it was a long session, there was some reward regarding good gear that came from it. And so I really did appreciate that as another good that came from it. The other thing is it's also very user friendly. Now, many people say and will swear that they can never play legendary difficulty, but in my experience, we actually ran with somebody who had no experience playing legendary. They were on the stream, and I asked if anybody wanted to jump on the stream, and some of us that were already much more seasoned players, yes, there were about 2 of us on the team, and then the other 2 just just random skill guys, just something like that. And we ended up, running together. And this, gentleman who had just played the division basically, I think from level 30 all the way to level 40, was already in there with us. And we were giving him gear as he was putting on the good gear and advancing all the way with us. And he played very well. He listened. We gave him tips. And he was able to do just as well if, in that team, like we had someone who was experienced. So for user friendliness, I have to say we'll have to determine on your interest and determine on how much you want to listen to team members. You don't just jump up and run into the middle of these enemy NPCs. They'll take you out. Okay. You have to be very careful. The objectives and the way that, enemy AI go after things still keeps the mode very challenging. And then I have to talk about, even the bad. The bad, in my opinion, was just a very minimal aspect of it. And it was quite irky to me anyways. And that's once we got to the higher levels and at 4-man scaling, the difficulty was, in my opinion, much more than regular legendary missions where you play with 4 people. And that was something that I felt the developers had put in there in a very weird and strange way, because it really took us a lot of time to be able to take out these enemy NPCs. In fact, much more time than, say, anywhere from 81 all the way up through about 95, 96, 97. And so I noticed the scaling that was a little weird in that aspect. Now, perhaps I was just really tired and I didn't necessarily know that this scaling was not too different, and it just felt like that after having played about 11 hours that day. But it was a little weird and tiring. Or maybe our builds just didn't work as the enemy NPCs started to get much more smarter, or as, the heat became much more hotter, in our case. But that was the bad. And then the second thing was, nobody said anything about you having to go all the way back to the, beginning of the, the Summit mode and farm those pieces to make the Ridgeway chess piece. And so that was another thing where there was not a lot of information on that. So everybody, kind of jumped in 51, started playing their way all the way up. And then it had to be a matter of then going all the way back down to try to get those other pieces, which I haven't gotten yet, because once I signed out that night from floor 100, I did not go back to the Summit just yet. I'll take some time to go and farm those pieces, and then I'm going to try, to jump back to level 100 when I have all the pieces, so that I can beat and get my Ridgeway chess piece. Now, I will also play it again. If you guys are wondering what the replayability is, that's where I come into the ugly. Now, replayability is going to be based on whoever wants to go into that mode and play the legendary aspects of it and use it to farm. In my opinion, it will grant you a lot of really nice pieces if you're in that mode, especially if there is a loot allocation that you actually want. You go in on legendary, your chances of getting the best gear are higher, and you spend a significant amount of time in there because it is much more forgiving than, say, a legendary mission. And I know many will say, but who wants to go back and farm floors and all of that stuff for these kinds of gear? Well, do you want to go in a legendary where if you wipe, it's basically going back to the start, and who knows if you're even going to get any good gear? Whereas here, you can start from floor 91 and just farm those 5 floors or 6 floors and go back downstairs or whatever, reset, and then just keep doing that in order to get some really good drops, especially with a team of 4. Yes, it'll be challenging, but you cannot deny the quality of the drops if you're going in with a team of people. Now, solo, I don't know if I'd recommend those floors, and that's why I say it's a little bit of the ugly, but no one's even really going to recommend legendary missions for you if you wanted to even play them solo yourself. But that's, again, where I say there might be a little bit of a toss-up, depending on who wants to play it. They'll decide if they want to go play it for farming, but they'll most likely want to go in a group, or they'll decide that they want to go solo because they're crazy and they want to do those other floors by themselves. So if you ask me what else kind of adds to this ugliness, it's the fact that Massive has basically released this mode in a skeletal form. And when I say skeletal form, it doesn't really seem, there is no flesh on this mode right now. So it's just everybody playing to get the Ridgeway chess piece, and then they're going to run all the way over to whatever it is that they were doing before. If they were playing the game, they're probably going to keep playing the game. If they were playing another game, they're probably going to be playing the other game. And so that's where I say all of this kind of gets really ugly, because with this Summit mode, there are a lot of, possibilities that the developers can implement in this particular paradigm. Think about it. You have a 100 floor, skyscraper, and you have all these different modes that players have been asking for. You have a survival type, mode that you've done in a past game. If you don't want to repeat it, you can do some levels, some level tweaks where you can make this mode some kind of a die-hard mode. You can make it some people have said a PvP mode. I really don't know about that, honestly. I'm not a PvP guy. But there are all kinds of fun things that you could really do in here. There could be all kinds of hunts that you could do, all kinds of scavenger hunts, timed events, where they even introduce some things that are not easily found in the open world, and they can bring it in there. And I've made mention of this, perhaps even those so-called raid exclusive items. They could say, oh, for so-and-so date, this weapon is going to have a limited chance of dropping in here. So that's now an event. You could call it the Eagle event, or they could call it the Raven event for the Ravenous. You get it? And everybody could jump in there for that one day and farm and farm and farm. And whoever gets gets it, they say, hey, we got it. But that day, they know everyone's going to be farming in the Summit. So there are all kinds of things that could be done with this. But I fear that it's going to eventually end up like Kinley College before it then gets that jump start. Like Kinley College is most likely going to be getting this holiday with the, code, whatever the name, Nightmare or something. And so how do I feel about the Summit? It's hard for me to be mad at it because it's somewhat free content. For those of you who may judge it, some may judge it at 50 cents, some 10 cents, some 5 cents. Some may even say it's probably worth $1. However it is, you want to look at it. Because they've brought it out under this quote free mode, I think they've kind of sidestepped the, that heavy criticism that they could get as to why the mode is in a skeletal form. But for now, there are people still grinding it out, not like they enjoy it, but want to grind it out in order to go play the other aspects of the game that they enjoy, which leaves me scratching my head going, I hope you guys have a plan after this Summit mode is done, Massive, because you guys know that the community has basically reached different edges with you guys. Now, yes, I am still enjoying the game because, like I said in the beginning of this video, I've been playing in somewhat of an echo chamber. And so my own evaluations is going to be from that side, from new players' perspective, and from perspective of players that are heavily grinding. I mean, if you look at my friends list right now, it has exploded with a lot of new people that have added me, and they're almost always online. So it's very difficult and challenging for me to see a lot of the downsides when I'm having, conversation and I'm having that community aspect with a lot of the players in the game who, yes, they have their criticisms because we talk a lot now. I'm listening more, which is great. I'm talking to people on Discord, but they just still understand that they want to engage in what this game has to offer. But what I fear is that Massive may not have too much time to continue to dance around this stuff. And, at that point, if another company comes and brings a better game, let them eat them up. I'm all for the competition. But at the same time, what we're probably going to see is a lot of Division players are most likely going to, if they see content that they like in the Division, come back or not. But that's pretty much my take on the Summit. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and we'll continue this conversation in words. Peace out.